Hey everyone, Dan here. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button and keep in mind that these are my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These are not meant to be, nor should you take them as investment or trading advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own due diligence, put in the work for yourself, and make your decisions based on that. Enjoy. All right, folks, here we are on Saturday, September 2nd. We're going to take an updated look at ticker CANO today. So one thing that I will just remind folks of, though it's obviously still very far away, there is this gap that starts at about 80 cents and takes us all the way up to about 146. So if it ever starts getting some motion in that direction or in that space, that could obviously get very interesting very quickly, as there is an enormous gap there to fill, left by a day when the stock dropped 73% on August 11th. So that's something to keep in mind. But we have a long way to go if we're ever to even attempt that price point. Now, I know this gets pretty challenging to see, as you know, it's relatively cluttered at the moment. But I was looking at sort of how these levels are holding up, and we do have this gap here that doesn't sound like much of a gap when you say it, from 38 cents to 41 cents, but that is a pretty significant percentage change, and so it's not nothing, because these lower price stocks have a lot of price action at fractions of pennies. So I was looking to see what kind of might make sense. I see the lower end of this wick, the upper end of this wick, and the upper end of the wick from Friday. So they're wicks, and it's not necessarily my favorite, but if there's a spot in between these levels, that would be about where I would put it. I don't necessarily know of a better spot. So it's wicky price action, which, like I said, isn't my favorite. It doesn't feel the strongest to me, but if it's going to continue to play in this range, then that may be where it puts in some additional price action. So there's also potentially, it would be very young, so this may not last, because it hasn't really spent much time doing this yet, but there may be forming a very nascent uptrend. We see it would have kicked off here on the 29th, sort of set in the stage on the 31st, and then yesterday, the 1st, it would have potentially confirmed a push off that level, but we'll see. It's not sort of aged enough yet, if you will. Now I have Thinkorswim bothering me over here. If you see it jumping up onto the screen, I'm just going to ignore it. But in any case, that's what I'm looking at for additional level and trend line. Now, if we zoom in a bit and just sort of see how it's been playing off of these levels, you see the other day here couldn't hold this 33 level, found support here around 32, and then ultimately support down here at 30. So those levels, playing really nicely. 32 level once again was the push off, and you see it working really nicely through all of these levels, finding support and flipping to resistance in obvious areas, and this was just what happened here on Friday. So if we pull up some indicators, I'm going to take a look and see what we might have happening in sort of EMA land. So trying to catch this 8 EMA, obviously these are configured in a very bearish configuration, and there's a lot of space in between them, which could mean that if it can get support over this 8 EMA, maybe it has some room to run. It's going to have to work through those resistance levels that we have in, but it might have some room to run toward that 21 EMA, wherever that price point situates. As the days go on, these obviously move. So that's what that is looking like to me. If we pull in the DMA, so potentially a bullish crossover coming here. It's going to be sort of the question. It's been steep decline. It's situated well below the baseline here, minus 0.75. So plenty of room, obviously, if it wants to go. Nice sharp uptick here on the DDD line, and queuing up for a potential crossover on the AMA. So we'll see if that takes shape at all, if anything ends up happening there. And then we could just take a look quickly at the MACD, see how that's looking. So, it has a very, very slight brand new crossover happening, and potentially a complete die down of the bearish momentum, and potentially an initial flip to bullish momentum. Just wanted to see what happened last time it did this. Yeah, I mean, it barely had any momentum. It obviously didn't have this wild price action, so it's just sort of in a different situation. All right, I'm going to sort out this Thinkorswim, and then we're going to take a look there if it's up and running. Alright, I checked out the Thinkorswim. I don't know why it's bouncing around. It's still installing updates, so we're going to skip that for this video. But next time we update, we can take a look at the Thinkorswim study as well and see how things are looking there. But, I think that these are, pretty good levels, trend lines, and a good look at some indicators. So we're going to call it a video here. I hope that you all have a great long weekend. And as always, I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next video.